Hello. I'm going to start because Gary's not here yet. I'm sure he's coming soon, though. So, hello. God, it feels like ages since I've spoken to you guys. I'm going to ask you later whether I should bring back the mini live challenges. I don't know, because I kind of had a break from it because I was kind of just getting a bit, trying to fit it all in was a bit of a nightmare. And so, but I'm getting myself back on an even keel, but I am going away again soon. So I was kind of I'm getting a bit of withdrawal symptoms from seeing you guys most days. So let me know. What do you think? I was going to say I'll ask you a bit later, but I might as well ask you now. Okay. Susie's here from a hot, humid Tennessee. Hi, Phoenix friends, says Dawn, family and hoof heroes. Jeanette's here. Hi, everyone. Just recovering from trimming both my boys' fronts this afternoon. Could never have done that before the Germany workshop. Learned so much about handling tools and trimming efficiently. You see, it just, honestly, people think, oh, I don't need to do it. But it takes you on another level, doesn't it? There is only so much we can teach you online, obviously. So it does take you to another level. Oh, I think I've just heard him turn up. Here he is. He's coming in now. Here he comes. Jeanette says, I'll try and put some photos on the group before the live if I have time. Excellent. Well done. We want to see that. Stella says, good morning, ladies. 2 a.m. here. So hopefully I can stay awake for the live. Looking forward to seeing you trims. Yes. Happy birthday, Gary. Oh my God. Is it today?
It is.
Happy birthday.
Cheers. Living it up with a pint of water.
God, life goes so quickly. So
I
damn.
know. So how did we manage this? I'm going to interrupt you now. I am 54 today.
Right.
Guess what live number this is? 154. How did we do that?
Oh my God.
Without even trying.
If you're going to look like that at 154, it'd be awesome.
If
you're can you imagine living to that?
I don't
that
think
age.
I don't think I'd want to. No, I don't think I'd want to.
Let's carry on. Camilla's here. Hello. Suzanne Scheid's here. Marigold Hand. Kay Ellison's here with her hearts. Indiana Pony. Oh, do we have a birthday? We do, apparently. I'd forgotten because I'm shit at that. Come over later, pal. We'll celebrate. Jenny Ackerstrom. Hi, all. Jeanette says, ooh, many happy returns, Gary. 55,
Thanks, Jeanette.
55. There's loads and loads of happy returns, Alex says, hello from New Zealand.
Alex.
Thanks, Dawn. Nina's here. Hello from Norway. Susie says, pace yourself. We want to see you, but you need to balance yourself. I know. But it's easy to honestly, just like this is a good example of the fact that, you know, that's gone by, and I knew it was the 8th of July. It's just I didn't know it was the 8th of July today because I've been sat in my office working
and
like a
I've
loony.
done exactly the same. I don't think I've been out to hang some washing out, walk the dogs, and see the horses. That's it. Otherwise, I've been stuck in my office all day, being a good boy.
Good boy, getting on with work. Getting on with our work. We've got to get it clear before we go to America.
Yeah.
I have a question about these fly blankets and masks. Do they help or prevent a happy horse life in summer? The hoof problems are horrendous, but I'd rather deal with a hoof problem than a skin problem any day, right?
Oh, yes.
Or a respiratory problem any day. Through my career, I have always tried to help people move forward out of fly masks and rugs. One of the biggest, most important things that you can do for an animal is to get them off high sugar for a horse and keep them moving, keep them in a herd, keep good, decent, natural, long fiber going through them. And that helps tremendously, but it's not a quick thing. It takes years in some cases. But what I find with many owners is they get themselves into a cycle of putting creams on, masks on, fly rugs on, because they're absolutely paranoid that the horse will scrape themselves to death. And of course, in the wrong environment, they will. But as soon as you start changing that environment, and let's say you were in fly masks and rugs, my suggestion would be that you get them off for a good period of the day when you feel that the flies aren't so much around. But lots of people say that it's sweetage, and sweetage, actual true sweetage, is really rare. In fact, the spit of the colloid fly is quite rare. Normally it's exacerbated the inflammation from within. And I have seen tremendous results from just sorting out the diet and management, cutting out all the crappy feeds, cutting out all of that, just keeping them going. None of our horses have to. I do see many horses wear them. Bethan's Buddy on Galsworth, he wears it at the moment. But then he's not completely right yet because he's had issues with his feet and he's had all kinds of little issues. So it's a process. I don't like to see horses in fly masks and rugs all summer and then in rugs all winter. But the step one is getting their environment, their feet, everything sorted out. And then you gradually wean yourself off them. And oftentimes it's the human more so than the horse, because they're frightened that the horse is going to rub their mane or their tail. And sometimes you kind of have to go through that, and then it just gets better every year. Less and less and less. It's longer and longer before you put the fly mask and rug on. So yeah.
I think also what I found with my mare, that when I got her, she had what was labeled as sweet itch, but basically it was a skin allergy, and she would rub herself raw. She did not have a tail. She would be, and the same on her mane. But as soon as you, like Lindsay says, you get them off the sugar and onto a more natural diet, it gets better. But I have to say, she got better year on year.
Yeah, that's what happens.
But it took 5 years. Yeah. That's what I found. And I don't know whether this is a factor, but it's certainly something that I thought about when I was in the UK before moving to France. She was in a very sterile environment. So yes, she was on a track, and yes, she had good hay, and she was relatively healthy, apart from this skin complaint. But then I moved to France, and she had a woodland to be able to go into. And I didn't want to rug her. And I have to say, I didn't rug her very much in the UK. But I think when you have horses that are in a sterile environment, having itches to scratch and not being able to scratch that itch is very frustrating. So when they do get the opportunity, they make the blimmin' most of it and potentially overdo it. And I found, and I've got trees that I could show you, and she's a big 17-hand Clydesdale cross warm blood. She got a different tree for her ass, and she's got a different tree for one part of her neck, and a different tree for scratching behind her ears, and all of the bark is smooth. But because she had that free choice, I wonder whether that helped, so there wasn't so much frustration. I got no scientific data to back that up, but it would make sense if I had an itch and I couldn't itch it.
Gary, we're
Oh
not
my
allowed.
God.
Remember, we're not allowed to talk about anecdotal information. Apparently, that's not valid in this world.
Oh, okay. But I felt it helped her. That's just my personal experience.
Yeah. So there's no hard and fast rule to that answer. I'll be honest. No. Becky's here. Hello. Dawn says we will be here for whenever you have time to do the lives. Thank you. I just sort of said earlier, I'd really like to get back into doing the little mini lives again, because I felt that we were getting a good lot of momentum going there with people. But
the trouble is, you get into a flow, don't you? And once you get into a flow and there's all this work that needs doing, you can't stop that flow.
No, and now we are in the middle of that at the moment.
And we're in that flow.
We are seriously in the flow, because we've changed a few systems in the school, and we've just had our new intake coming in on Monday, the Datongs, which is a Chinese endangered mountain pony. They are, because they've all got letters, and this year it's D. And so we have got the Dales already, and now we've got the Datongs, and we don't know what we're going to have in October, but we have 3 intakes a year. And this group had their induction on Sunday evening, and they're poor things. They just all look like rabbits in headlights. And then we threw them into the student group, which is a big group, and now they've got to find their way. They've met each other online, and now they've been let into the school, and now they're starting to watch lessons already, and it begins. And I love it. It's so exciting, because up at this end we've got intakes coming in and it's beginning, and down the other end, 2 years down the line now, we've got another group, which were the Brumbies, and they've just finished. I think we might have one person left to do some finals. They've just finished their finals, and they're waiting for their graduation now. We've got the Bretons, who are hot on their heels, who are going to be coming through in a minute. They're doing their finals, and just all the time is just this conveyor belt of wonderful people going through the school,
coming in and going out,
coming in, spending 2 years with us, and then going out. And we feel now we've got, obviously we've had to tweak it as we've gone along, as students have gone through systems, mainly, not so much the content, more the systems. And we feel that we've got it. We're getting on, just about starting to get back on top of things now. And because it kind of, the first year was like, yes, this is all good. And then the second and third year, so we're just finishing our third year now, was, it's popular. What do we do now? So it's been a bit, oh God. Now we're getting on top of it. Now we're getting better systems, and we are more focusing now on research as well, which is very cool. We are garnering all our students and all the data that they take regularly, every trim, for their case studies. We're gathering data now, and that is going into a big database where we're going to have fantastic data for our research. So that started. We've got a bit of headspace for that now. And every time we go through it with a group of students, we always think, I wonder if we could do it better. I wonder if we could teach that thing better. And so there are a few things that we are still tweaking, but that's progress, and that's the process of the progress of this school. It's not stagnant. It keeps changing. It keeps evolving. Well, not changing, but it keeps evolving, and additions and making it slicker, making the systems better. Because at the end of the day, it's a business that's in education, and our business is to look after all of our students. So in the background, you see us, and we do the lives, and we're on Phoenix Group, and we've got our lovely admins, of which some of those are students as well. And we, I don't know if they are now. I think we've just gone through it, haven't we? I think that's final one. And so you see all of that, but in the background, we're pedaling like mad. Because we've got all this other stuff going on about, and we don't tend to talk about that too much online, and partly because because we don't want to inundate our students with too much, too many people getting to know them too quickly, because they get quite popular as they come out the other end. As they, in their second year of training, they go out, and we say that they can go and trim, and they obviously have to keep a lot of records, and it's not difficult getting clients. A lot of people want our HMB pros, and we've now got 80 plus students. I have to say plus because I don't know the exact number. 80 plus students and pros in 15 or 16 countries, or 16 I think it is, around the world. And this last intake, we had 2 from Sweden. We've already got 1 from Sweden, so that's now 3 in Sweden. So we had 2 from Sweden in this intake. We've had 2 from New Zealand. Yes, so that's 3 in New Zealand now, and all in North Island as well. We've got 2 from Australia. Yeah, and they're both in Queensland, weirdly. A massive, great big Australia, and they're both in Queensland.
Opposite sides.
Opposite, one right at the top and one further down. And 2 in the UK. What did I say? 2 Sweden, 2 in the UK, 2 in New Zealand, and 2 in Australia. So that's a group of 8, and they are a lovely bunch, and they're just getting to know each other now, and as they start through. So it keeps us fresh, but it does keep us very, very busy. But I don't want to forget about you guys, because you're all important too, you see. It's finding that balance. It's finding that work school balance. No, live work balance. That's what we've got to find. It's finding that, I think, is the truth. Tracy's here. Hello. I finally made a live today. New baby frogs. Oh, love to peel off the. Oh, I actually thought you meant frogs.
First time I read it, that's what I thought as well.
You don't mean real frogs. You mean horsey frogs. Don't know where my mind was going with that. Love to peel off old frog when it wants to come off. Ellen finally finished the challenges. Yes. Then my PPT trimmer says she's too far away to come. Great, because I wanted to fire you anyway.
That's funny.
Away you go, and so it begins. Good luck. You know where
it was
we
meant
are.
to be. It was meant to be.
Hello, Therese.
Hi, Therese.
I think Therese is getting into things. I don't think she was able to log in yesterday, but she can log in today, I believe. I was chatting to Asher about it earlier, and we were making sure that you were all ready to go. Therese, everybody, say welcome and hi to one of our tongs. Hello. Laura Shullam's here. Hi all. I can't wait till Calgary Clinic. I can't wait either. It's getting close now, isn't it? There's only a couple of weeks and we're leaving. Oh my God. Happy birthday, Gary.
Thank you.
Happy birthday, Gary. But I'm really sad that I'm older than you. Not that you don't look older than me.
Never. I obviously had a hard paper round, Becky.
I'm older than him, though. Are you and me the same age, Becky? I don't know. Stella says, and guess what? I was born in 1954.
Ooh, that's spooky.
And I've just looked up and it says 45 watching, which is 54 backwards. Look at that. Get happy birthday, loads of happy birthdays. Indiana says, so glad to hear that. My ponies don't wear fly blasting masks and people called that cruel. So I got on short. No. Halt.
Yeah,
don't be putting anything on the horse unless you know you really have to at that moment in time. No, God, no. Hi, everyone, says Alison. It's your birthday. It's your birthday. It's your birthday. It's your birthday.
Thanks, Alison.
Happy birthday. Cake. I've not got cake. Hello, says Bethan.
Hi, Bethan.
Hello, Lee. Well, your ears must have been burning. We were talking about you today, my handsome, and you've been mentioned in the Phoenix group. Where have you been? We miss you. Come back.
And I've messaged you. Check your WhatsApp out.
You've been in the abyss. Now maybe you're coming back.
Good to see you, mate.
Dawn says, I live near a river and we have horrendous trouble with midges, small mosquitoes for those who don't have them. You can't go outside in the late evening and the horses hate them, but it keeps them constantly on the move, so not all bad. They love me. Patty's here. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. Uta's here. I'm late. Almost missed you. Uta, hello.
Hi,
So great
Uta.
meeting you in Germany. Becky, lots of people to help change the world for yes. Isn't
That's
it
the
great?
plan.
And
That's
you
the
were right
plan.
there, Becky. Right there at the beginning. Do you remember? You might not have been in the first group, but you were in the second group. But it was in your kitchen that we
Provided the
unveiled.
venue. It all started in Becky's kitchen.
Started in Becky's kitchen. That's where we did our first. Now, we are going to build a school. Gail says wood sticks and deer ticks where I am. Gosh, deer flies and horse flies. Mosquitoes. Oh, yeah. We get begins with an L, the Latin name. What the hell are the name of the big horse flies? Big black ones.
No idea.
Call them the big black horse flies, and they're big. They're quite solitary, but they're I want to say something and it's not the right thing and it sounds rude, but it begins with L. And the male, I found out, doesn't bite.
No, it's the females that bite because they need the blood to create the eggs.
It's the same with mosquitoes, isn't it?
Yeah.
So the males, they do fine. They just go and get nectar. Not the females. They're the bloodsuckers.
Am I allowed to say they're bitey bitches?
So when you get bitten, no, it was a lady that did it.
They bite me, I murder them. They're horrible.
I am with Dawn. We'll be here when you're available. Your school must progress forward. It is progressing. It's definitely progressing. Sounds exciting. That is what's so amazing about the course. It's always evolving, open minds, and always learning. Yeah. Alison, of course, she's a stud. She's right there. Gosh.
Second year student, Alison.
Second year now. Weird. That just went too fast. It's just so exciting, such a privilege being part of the school. Best school on the planet, of course, biggest. Vanya says hello. Vanya's just qualifying. Lee's back again. Look, his second comment. You made 2 comments.
Cheers.
Cheers. Look at us, boring farts. Drinking water. You have been covert, have you? Did you have all on your army stuff? We missed you.
What, the boot polish?
Vanya says, yes, that's it, the tabanus. I wanted to say...
Go on, give it...
No, I'm not going to say it, but it sounded like tabanus, but with an L, but a bit more like ladies' parts. Jenny Ackerston, go Sweden. Therese, Camilla, Malin, so proud of you. Those are our 3 Swedish students. And Malin's Malin halfway through now? She is, isn't she? Because she's with Alison's group, isn't she? Yeah. So Malin's halfway through.
Yeah.
And Therese and Camilla have just started together. It's very exciting. Very, very, very exciting. Becky says, oh, I love that memory. Oh, I love that memory as well. And we will always dine out on that memory. It's such a great memory. So thankful to have found you, and you came to my kitchen. I don't even remember why we came to your kitchen. It was the end of was it the Saturday? I think it was because the Sunday.
I think it was the workshop that we were doing, and it was Becky that organised it, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
And our house was the closest.
And we all trundled over there.
And we all trundled over there. Yeah.
It was highly lovely to see you. Vanya says, or Linnaeus. Yes. I'm thinking Flabanus. Yes. Water.
What about water? Are you saying that we're drinking water on my birthday and I expect you're there with a Prosecco? I know you. Good for you, Bethan. I'm going to have a glass of wine after.
Fresno. Bethan says, from Cyrus, Rupert and Heathcliff, they are asking about their merch. Oh, well. Now, I couldn't remember exactly whether that was a thing or not. And so Rachel actually asked me that the other day. And I said, I don't know if I can remember. Are we doing the same sizes? Because if we're doing the same sizes, we can get those off tomorrow. Sorry, boys. We're a bit rubbish at that, aren't we? We'll get them through to you soon. Becky says because they were shutting the venue pub for dinner. Oh! God, those were the days. Right. What are we going to talk about today? I know what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about, in fact, I'm not sure if I talked about, did I talk about the extensor tendon thing last week? It's been a whole week ago.
You touched on it, but we didn't go and look at any major pictures or anything like that.
Okay, so I put it up on the
Yeah, it was a good
I'm
post.
getting a bit worried. I put a couple of things up on the Facebook page recently, and they've just, people have just liked it, and then no comments. What's going on? Here we go. Look.
Perhaps there's lots of light bulb moments going off because everybody talks about the back of the foot instead of the front of the foot, and it's equally as important.
It is, as we have got images to show you.
Or should we actually say it's more important because so much of the hoof care out there is wrong that puts a strain on the extensor tendon? We could say that.
Yeah. So can you see this?
Yeah, all good.
So what we've got here is, this is all 1 foot, and this is the skin, which looks a bit weird from sort of corner of your eye. I think it's some sort of.
I can't see your pointer. Wave your pointer about again.
No, you won't see it because it's on Facebook, isn't it? So you can't. So I'm just going to have to highlight certain bits. There we go. Right. So this is the same foot, and this foot has, you can see, if we start top left-hand corner, extensor tendon chronic damage. Oh, you can come back again now. Look, you can see my little hand.
Yeah, I can see it now.
So the extensor tendon, it should be strong, smooth, it's flexible. But look at this. Can you see all the fibers? They're sort of pulling apart. They're under chronic strain and chronic damage, and you can see how red it is up here. Now, initially, when we look at these things, when we're dissecting horses' feet, sometimes the horse gets bruised, or the animal gets bruised on just after they were put to sleep and they're getting dragged around, and there may have been an accident, etc. But this isn't any of that before somebody thinks that that's what it is. This is indication of chronic damage. And we also know that because if you look down here onto the actual skin itself, this here, just this area here, was very yellowed. It was really hard and really thick and not flexible at all. And you can see it's got sort of dirty bruising on there. And that was that. I mean, it's upside down because I'm holding it that way. But if you turn it around and lay it over here, that bit was laid over this bit here. So you can tell, that it's had chronic damage for a long time. Why? Well, look at the state of it, right? We've got terribly high heels. They're very, very contracted. You've got the contracted but still visible lateral or ungular cartilage. And that's important to note that. And I'll tell you why in a moment. And here I usually do on the workshop, I usually do a tenotomy. I mean, frankly, it's not worth doing it because the horse has gone through a major tenotomy as it is, because you chopped its leg off. But it just goes to show the people in the workshop what a tenotomy means, a DDFT tenotomy. And they cut about 1 inch out of it. Now, the rest of the DDFT isn't actually in there because when I pulled it, it came out. So, but that's where they do a mid-pastern tenotomy. Now, the crazy thing about tenotomies, and I've said this to you before, they'll do it either mid-pastern or mid-cannon. It's quite difficult because down here, you've got your proximal annular ligament in there. You've got the superficial flexor tendon all messing around in there, plus obviously lots of connective tissue, fascia, etc. I would not want to be a surgeon. I mean, I'm not the best at dissecting, but I'm okay. But I can't imagine what it must be like to get thrown into the surgical world and do all that on a living animal. But the DDFT tenotomy, so they're cutting this because they believe what will happen is that will allow P3 to go back. But obviously we can all see that that's absolutely nonsense, and that you can see what the problem is staring you right in the face. But these horses do still go through it, and yet there's not one piece of research. And this is what's so crazy about the equine world, is that everybody bleats on about getting peer-reviewed research, and when we do get peer-reviewed research that does actually not prove that the DDFT cutting it will put P3 back in the right position, they just ignore it. They still do it anyway, in the hope that it might mean something, and it doesn't. Not one piece of research, and you can go and look for them, you can go and find them yourselves, has shown that by cutting the DDFT, the P3 actually releases and goes back through the capsule. It's absolute nonsense. And unfortunately, it's still out there. And if you read every single one of those pieces of research, as I have, you will find that it always backs it up with some kind of manipulation of the hoof capsule. So when they go and re-X-ray, they have to admit it, obviously, because they have to say what they've been doing in the paper. But when they go and re-X-ray, they actually say, and we lowered the heels, or in some cases, we made the heels higher. So we've got these super high heels. Before we even go on and look inside, we can see that this hoof capsule is in dire straits. Look here where the lateral cartilages are, how all this area is pushed up. That entire section, as you see it there, pretty much underneath that heel. Well, not all the way down, because it comes down here because it's horn down here of heel. But this is both sides has got lateral cartilages. I'll talk a bit more about that. I'm going to do a post about that in the next couple of days. Now you can see that this has been rasped. It's got holes where it had shoes on. We haven't trimmed it, just taken the shoe off. I don't even know if we did that, actually.
We didn't know. It came from the abattoir like that.
With the shoe off.
Yeah.
But there we go. So extensor tendon chronic damage. That's what it looks like. You can't see that on an X-ray, folks. You can't. And they all go on about the DDFT, and this is what they do to the DDFT because they think it's all part of this. The DDFT is not the cause. And in the blurb I put above, I say it's not the cause. It's a victim, the DDFT, as indeed are the lateral cartilages, the digital cushion, the distal digital annular ligament, the frog. They're all victims. Everything at the back is a victim because it's being squashed. I can't tell you how horrendous this is. The more we know about what goes on in these feet with these poor horses, the more tension they're under, and it can happen really quickly with just wedging up a horse's foot. We're starting to see that now. It's frightening, and this you can't see. You can't see it on an X-ray. And funnily enough, we often just dissect ordinary, fairly good feet because we keep feet like this so that we can cut them in half in the workshops. But we decided not to on this one. We decided to dissect it, and there is that telltale sign of terrible tendon chronic damage. And if we go down, we can see further the problems that this hoof was having. The horizontal coronary band, well, that's a good sign, and in some horses where they've got long feathers, that covers it up and people don't notice. But in a horse like this, it hasn't got long feathers. Not the right time of the year, and it hasn't got long feathers. And then you see these dotted lines. I made them dotted so that I hoped you could see that I haven't made them up, because I see people do that all the time when they're drawing on horses' feet. They kind of make it up. No, these are actually the rings. Now, just let you go home with the thought of why are they so regular? That's interesting, isn't it? They're very, very close together here at the toe, and they're further apart at the back, the diverging rings. This is, without a shadow of a doubt, showing you the difference in growth rate. And only when you have rehabbed so many of these horses do you understand that that's what's going on, because the heel is going out of control. It's growing far quicker than it should. It's still getting stimulation, but this has been retarded here at the front. And because we've now got a horse that's not landing correctly, because the dorsopalmar balance is so off, this horse should have had that entire wedge there, look, taken out. That's all that's underneath my pink marigold hand, my pointy hand, shouldn't be there. And then that foot would be in a different angle. So this should have been screaming at these people. We have got serious problems. You know, they don't see this, but this animal's in a lot of pain. Would have had stilted, you know, walking. It would have been going lame. It probably was just generally lame. Hence the reason when they had shoes and they just couldn't keep on top of it. And before you know it, they put the horse to sleep. This horse didn't need to die. This was just because of ridiculous hoof care. And yet I can guarantee to you, because we've seen it 100 million times, maybe not that many, but lots, that this horse would have been diagnosed with laminitis. As Bethan would often say, this is not laminitis, it's farrieritis. And there's the thickened skin. That is shocking. You won't get many people showing you that kind of thing. But that, my friends, is scary stuff. So please do go and read it and make your comments. Let's come back to you. Where are we? Over here. Let's see what people have said. Blah, 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 blah. Yes, that's good. About the T-shirts. Thank you very much. Is Garry going to be at Slippery Rock? Yes.
Yes.
You're going to get Mr. Hinton.
I can't be at the Calgary and Toronto ones. But yes, I'm at Maryland, and yes, I'm at Slippery Rock. Very much looking forward to it.
You've got to put with me and Asher. And I'm dragging along my other daughter as well for Canada. It
is my first ever visit to the States.
Ooh. It's going to be fun. It was your first ever visit to Germany the other day.
It was.
Globetrotter, you.
And I loved it. I thought Germany was lovely.
It was lovely. Lovely people. Really lovely people.
Yes.
I hope that has now put... I hope it has fully put... Yeah. I hope it's fully put to bed all the propaganda that's been wafting around the internet that we are banned in Germany. That's just nonsense. We're not banned in Germany. Of course we're not. My God, it was a huge workshop. And we had 2 vets there, one of which is a student of ours, Viviane, she's German, and the other one is a welfare vet. So he deals with welfare, not just with horses, but with all animals, obviously with horses too. And so he does have to deal with horses quite a lot. And of course, one of the welfare things he comes across is hoof problems. So he spent the entire weekend learning stuff he didn't even know he needed to know, if you know what I mean, because they don't get taught it at university. So it was wonderful spending time with him.
Lovely chat. And
we had some hoof professional, equine professionals. It was just brilliant. Alison says, my young vet was telling me about a video she's seen on Facebook somewhere showing P3 rotate as the DDFT is pulled. By what? Sounds ridiculous, but I hope she'll show it me on Saturday. Oh, okay then. And I hope they're doing it on a live animal. You're brilliant at dissecting. The only stuff I've been able to find on effectiveness of tenotomy emphasizes how critical ongoing remedial shoes are, i.e. pointless mutilating. It is completely pointless. And it's all come from when foals are on their tippy toes, but the heel isn't on the ground. You know, and the DDFT is, and when you pull the DDFT, when an animal pulls, it isn't just, it's not pulling P3, it's pulling the capsule. So if the DDFT was pulling it, and I do this on the dissections very simply, you can see that the heel goes up. Anyway, it's a moot point because obviously we've proved it over and over and over and over and over and over again that once you put P3 in the right position and you realign P3 and it still has all that damaged laminite, still got the damaged extensor tendon, everything is still damaged, it stays exactly where you put it. doesn't move until the heels grow. And then the palmar angle goes up. And our job is, the hardest part of our job actually, is keeping those heels down. Bonnie's here. Hello, hello. Becky says, this is why the workshops blow your mind, because Lindsay and Garry dissect and examine all sorts of hooves and you learn so much more. We did. And we leave it at the end, to the end of the 3 days. It's always a great ending. We always do lots and lots looking at all sorts of feet. I'm just thinking if I've got any more of my pictures. I'll go and have a look in a minute. Right. Sandra's here. Hello. Sandra's there on the workshop. They would just say, take the toes back. What, on that one? That's what they were doing. They were already taking the toes off. Need to do a workshop in Chicago. We'd love to come to Chicago. I've been to Chicago, the Windy City. God, many years ago, before the girls were born. I'd love to come to Chicago. Trent, if you can organize some legs, we'll come, because we've got to have legs. Yay, HM worldwide. Mark says he loved Germany too. We loved it. Tim was so sad he didn't get to say goodbye. We loved it. We loved having you there. It's our little family, isn't it? Our little family. Foxy Paw Stotty says, I've caught you for the first time. Yes. Well, I
Welcome.
Nice to meet you. Hello. Good to see you. Nice to meet you. Right. What else shall we talk about? I know what I'm going to show you. Look at this. Look at this. All right, you got to guess. Oh, damn it! I was going to say you've got to guess what it is, and I I left it at the bottom.
Well, I didn't see it.
Did you not?
No.
So what's that? For those of you who didn't see what was at the bottom,
I didn't see what it said.
What is this?
But I know what it is.
What is that? Come on, put your answers in. I bet quite a lot of people saw it.
It's a P3.
It's a toe, look. And doesn't it look a little bit like P3? And doesn't that look a little bit like the middle phalanx? Look at it. Isn't it interesting? Don't you think it's very interesting? You know, when evolution happened, things just ended up elongating. It was very clever. Jeanette says she knows. Come back. Maureen says, looks like a toe. It is a human toe. But why am I showing you a picture of a human toe? No, you can't say anything. Jeanette was bursting, wasn't she, all the way through the German King? I know. So lovely. What is going on here? This doesn't look normal, does it? I know it's not a particularly good image. I grant you that. It isn't. It's a bit fuzzy, isn't it? But what is going on here? Now, here is the nail. You can see the nail there. Look, poking up there. And so the nail bed's in here. And you can sort of almost imagine, can't you, that nail could have covered this bone once. It's a bit, in fact, it looks a little bit like an elephant's foot, doesn't it? If you just imagined that being a bit of an elephant nail and the bottom of the elephant foot. It's a big toe. So let's go. Foxy says, I'm going to do the 15-inch shadow. It looks like a phalanx because it is one. I did chiropody after school. Very good. It is a phalanx. The bones are familiar, aren't they? Don't they look similar? It's a human toe with osteonecrosis. It is. And if I pull out there, you can see osteonecrosis to a human toe. The smiley face is just because it was sent to me, just to sort of, they're not laughing that it's a osteonecrosis, but it is osteonecrosis. That's right. Sandra says osteonecrosis. Becky says it's so worth the weekend away. Travel. Yes, go travel. Is that bone necrosis? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Is it a foal hoof in the new? No, it isn't. It's a toe. it is a ballerina's toe. Is it? No, it's not a ballerina's toe. Well, at least I don't think it is. Oh my God, says Becky Harding. Now, the reason I'm showing you this is because it is actually, osteonecrosis is actually quite well known in orthopedics, in feet particularly, and certainly in hips. Avascular necrosis of the acetabulum is what they call it. And Tim had that, which is one of the reasons I got quite fascinated by osteonecrosis. And his hip joint started to disintegrate very badly, and actually once it got to a certain stage it went quite quickly, and the socket itself got thinner and thinner and thinner, and he nearly went right through his pelvis had he not ended up having the operation. Now here's something really interesting, because Foxy's gone. Is it because of diabetes? No. Now you may or may not know this, but through the research that I've done, and I have and I was speaking to a lovely consultant on the Germany workshop, because she came along, who deals with all kinds of parts of the body. She's a consultant radiologist, and she was talking to me about osteonecrosis and how they understand it far more, it seems, in humans, and they don't seem to get it in horses. They don't seem to understand it quite as well. Now the majority of osteonecrosis, or the majority of bone death, and you can see it's going underneath here, it's not at the top, it's going underneath, and that's right where this pad touches the ground. The majority of it is due to injury. A huge percentage. Everybody's told it's diabetes. It is not. That's a small percentage, and it doesn't present itself in the same way. The majority of osteonecrosis is caused because of an injury. And in feet, youngsters jumping from high, falling, jumping, people jumping, falling off ladders, all that sort of stuff, and car accidents, because you're quite well protected behind an airbag, but your feet don't tend to be, and car accidents, feet get crushed. And it doesn't just happen in the metatarsal bones, which are your toe bones. It also happens in the tarsus, a bit further up the foot. It happens in the navicular bone in the human foot. And we've got 26 bones in the human foot. So that's quite a lot of bones to damage. Interestingly, they don't seem to get it in the calcaneus, which is the heel bone. But all of these extremity kind of bones, and bones that are in positions like the navicular bone, they can get damaged. And Bethan's Dan, he did have a fractured navicular bone, I believe. Now, what happens is when these bones get damaged, they damage the blood supply that supplies the bone and gives them all their nutrition and helps the bone form, continue to form and, overcome damage, etc. But when they have been damaged and broken, it's really difficult for surgeons to not only just put the bones back together, but it's difficult for them to, if the blood supply is not going to reroute itself, or it's going to remain damaged, then they're going to struggle stopping the osteonecrosis, and they can't stop it in all cases, because the blood supply doesn't fix itself in all cases. In many cases they can, but in many cases they can't. But the interesting thing is, it is totally down to occluding that blood supply, stopping the blood from getting to the cells, and then it goes through a process where it begins to break down in a very, very specific way, of which I'm not going to go into it in great detail, but basically the osteoblasts that are there trying to build bone can't keep up, and so it's degenerating faster than the osteoblasts can make it, because they're just not getting enough blood supply. So it starts to kind of almost liquefy itself and break down, and in a very irregular pattern, as you can see there. Now, isn't it interesting? Because they still go on I've heard it spoken from in various quarters that Pollitt thinks that it must be caused by the lamellar wedge. That's causing damage to P3. But the P3 is not damaged on the front where the wedge is. It's not damaged here. It's damaged here underneath. That's where the damage is. And if you've looked at enough x-rays like we have and enough bones of osteonecrosis like we have, it all happens underneath. It doesn't just happen at the tip either. It can happen at any point, and it can happen particularly in the palmar processes too. But what's the injury in a horse? If you think about it, it's not the fact that they have to walk around. That's fine. Mother Nature, as indeed she did for us with the human toe, Mother Nature made it so it was absolutely fine until there's an injury. And the injury for horses is the heels going up and the removal, the extra removal of the toe pillar, and also in most cases the sole too, and pushing P3 down onto its tip. Now, we've been saying this for decades now, and of course people still come through and say, oh well, it's diabetes. No, it's not the same. And then they also say, oh well, it's rotating and sinking of its own accord. It isn't. And eventually the world will have to take on board that it's hoof care that is the problem and not everything else that they blame it on, including things like the moon phases and God knows what else, you know. And it might be raining today and it's windy tomorrow. God knows whatever it is, but they cannot accept that it is a human error. So I just thought you might like to see that. There you go. That was osteonecrosis of a human toe, which was sent to me. Oh, hang on a minute. I can show you a slightly different view. Look at this. Oh, wait a minute. That's a slightly different view. There's the little middle phalanx there. The second little metatarsal that you've got in there. There you go. And that's the osteonecrosis that's going on there. You can see it just disintegrating. I should imagine that's excruciatingly P2, yeah, and P3, excruciatingly painful. And I tell you what, they wouldn't let humans suffer. They'd do something about it. But with horses, they appear to be doing something about it, but they're not, are they? Yeah, so just thought you'd find that very interesting. There you go. That is osteonecrosis of the human toe. There you go. I should just remove that now. Stop sharing. Where are we going? Where are we going? Where are we going? I'm just here for the British accents.
We're going to have to go to accent school, and we'll have to come up with a different accent every time that we come on. Now, you would do that very well. However, I would be absolutely shit. I have to be in the same room. If I'm in the same room as somebody with an accent, I can pick up their accent really, really quickly. But can I do it just like that? Not a chance.
I have to be in the right mood. Foxy says that's fascinating. I was just thinking with the blood vessel damage at extremities, but yes, I suppose it can happen anywhere. It's very, it's not as rare as you think it is, and it's obviously common in the osteonecrosis world. It's common in human feet and extremities and hip joints, of which obviously Timmy was an example of that. Foxy says you are so good at explaining stuff, and I can see that the blood supply, just like when the hoof capsule is rotating, the pressure stops blood supply. Yes, thank you very much. Pressure against the ground on the wrong point because of bad hoof care. That's the injury. It is an injury.
Yeah.
And just not that long ago, Chris Pollitt came out and said that his discovery that he made quite a few years ago on the MMP enzymes, the matrix metalloproteinases, which we all have in our bodies in areas where there's extra cellular matrix, like for instance around the basal membrane, which we have when we've got fingers and we've got horn, etc., and we've got anyway. There are these MMP enzymes, and what they do is, we call them nipper tuckers, and what they do is they amongst other little chemicals and little tiny molecules, etc., what they do, and they're proteins, of course, because they're enzymes, and what they do is that they are responsible for the flow of the hoof wall, the fact that it can just hold on and let go and hold on and let go, because it has to do that, otherwise it would drag everything down with it, but it doesn't. So it carries on growing. The dermal laminitis they put and the epidermal just go flowing through it, and it's an incredible piece of engineering. Now, you don't think Mother Nature would have been so stupid as to go, well, the slightest thing is going to set those MMP enzymes off, are going to go into nipper overdrive, and it's all going to go, and P3 is going to whistle through the capsule. It can't do that. And recently, because Pollitt said to the world, oh, it's the MMP enzymes going into nipper overdrive, that's what causes the separation. Now, we've always known that rotation has got nothing to do with diet and management, but one of the biggest things that was never properly cleared up was the MMP enzymes going into nipper overdrive when horses their guts get overloaded, and which causes a death of the good bacteria, which end up being toxic, go into the bloodstream, go down to the laminate and other places in the body and cause problems. And that makes the MMP enzymes go into nipper overdrive. But what we see in in day to day, which is never what he talks about, because he never goes out and sees what's going on in the actual real world out there. This is all in a lab. What we see day to day is we never come across separation unless there has been an imbalance in the hoof capsule. And then he basically confirmed by coming out and saying that the MMP enzymes do that, but they are doing that in response to
trauma
and injury. Again, I'll ask you, what's the trauma and what's the injury? That's the trauma, that's the injury. Just go back to thinking about the extensor tendon that never gets seen. Nobody sees that. Horse gets put to sleep. Nobody thinks about it. If you dissect those kind of feet, you are going to see damage in those areas. But here's the interesting thing. 57 minutes, so we're nearly there. Here's the interesting thing, and I'm going to put a post about it maybe in the next couple of days, maybe tomorrow. Think about those ungular cartilages, those lateral cartilages. Now, let me just put up that image again. There we go. Think of these. Now, these poke up just above. They're at the sides, and they come down and they take a great big portion of the side of the hoof. Now, they're there for flexibility. They're there for support. They're there for stimulating good blood flow. There's lots of reasons why these lateral cartilages are there and why they exist, but they are cartilage, and they do turn into bone when the foot has mediolateral side-to-side chronic imbalance. They will start to form bone. Now, they start to form bone down here because right back at the back here is what we call the palmar processes, the bony bit that sticks out at the back of P3. Now, you're just going to have to imagine that in your mind, because I can't draw it on here. But they're the bony bits that stick out of P3. Now, these lateral cartilages attached to that. They are attached to it. They're not floating separately. They are attached. And when the foot is all perfectly balanced, nothing is under strain. Everything is good, and all is well. Now, the reason that when the heels get long, the palmar processes go up is because not only is there a lot of horn underneath here and it's pushing it up, but it's also because these lateral cartilages are fixed fixed. They don't move. And that's a problem for strain and tearing in the capsule. Now, they're attached to the palmar processes. So if the DDFT, this little jigger here, was pulling P3 through the capsule, because these are attached, not only would P3 come through, but these would come loose of their moorings. One would assume, if that's all it was doing, just pulling P3 through the capsule. But these lateral cartilages, you can find them exactly in the same position on an extremely high heeled foot and on a low heeled foot, because they don't move, because part of it sticks up here, part of it is attached to the coronary band, actually physically attached. They have their own papillae that create the papillae periopal and horn, and they also have their own laminae, because if you think about it, and we're always thinking of ways to explain this, but the bone itself isn't covering that whole capsule. Yet when we take a foot out of a capsule, you can see, in fact, I think I've got a picture. Let me just show you. I'm taking my thunder away, because I'm going to put this up on the page soon. But let's just stop screen sharing. Let me see if I can share this to you. Right, look at this. This is what I'm going to be putting up on the page very soon. Nope, that. Okay, can you see this?
Yeah.
So the white line is a very rudimentary hoof capsule. There it is, and it's covering this bit, which is the dermal part. So that's the inside of the skin, if you like, and the outside of the skin, if you like, is the capsule, if you want to think of it like that, because it's the skin system, and this is a contiguous layer. It goes into this, which then goes into the skin that's underneath the hair, and it's continuous. It's like, I don't know if you ever saw Robbie Williams' song Rock DJ. Do you know that song, Rock DJ?
Yes.
And he's skating around, isn't he? I don't know if he's skating. I think he's just singing, and there's all these girls skating around in front of him. And gradually, bit by bit, every part of, I don't know why they thought that would be a good idea, but that's what comes to mind. Every part, his skin comes off first, or the outside of the skin, then eventually you see the muscles, and it's layer by layer by layer by layer by layer. Don't know why I said that. Let's just go back to this. This part here and all of this along here is all bone, and this lateral cartilage attaches to this palmar process, which sticks out here. But then it goes like that, and it's shaped like this. Now under this bit is more tissue. There's ligaments, etc., underneath there. So what I'm trying to say to you is that when you see this like a Russian doll, when you see this laminae, it is not all wrapped around a bone, because not all of that is bone. Some of it is tissue, and one of the tissues is this ungular or lateral cartilage, and this is the shape of it. It looks very big, and there's two of them. This is the bit that pokes up above the coronary band, and it's always there. This is the bit that's stuck to the coronary band, and I say stuck, it actually is. There's connective tissue, and it has its own papillae, because this is where the papillae all lives. And this here is its own lamellae, dermal lamellae. So when you see the side of the horse's foot and you see hoof here, and equally you see hoof cracks, etc., going up the quarters, think about the lateral cartilages, because those are the bits that are right underneath there. And when P3 rotates, and it's all of this, when P3 rotates, it's this whole thing that works as one and is put into the wrong position in the hoof capsule. So this part of the horn begins to grow underneath here. They take this off, it pitches P3 forward. The strain is unbearable for the tissues that are strong in there. That extensor tendon is very strong, and yet you saw how torn it was. The strain of being fixed in the wrong position is unbearable, and things begin to fail, just like the extensor tendon did. The laminae begin to fail. This pulls back. It's not being pulled back. It's been fixed into that position. If the DDFT was pulling the bone, then it would end up pulling all of this off its moorings, which it can't do because this is totally fixed. And in fact, the shocking thing is that this area here is the majority of the area that gets torn is around the dorsal area here. This bit stays fixed, and the torque and the tension in here is tremendous. It's awful because this is still connected to its hoof capsule, and this cannot unconnect itself from the coronary band. So look out for that post. I shall put that out next couple of days. Interesting, isn't it? Interesting. Ellen says, sad thing is when my PPT trimmer started with me, 2 trims were pretty much TPW and the hooves held their shape. Then she went to PPT, and the hooves, for those of you who don't know what PPT is, it means personal preference trimming, and the hooves have gone pear-shaped, but I can't make her see why. No. And I was having a conversation today with somebody who knows somebody who used to be a very good trimmer, trim our way, and completely lost her way, got in with the wrong people, started chopping off toes and leaving heels, and still blames all of that on the diet. And yet you x-ray it and you go, well, it was diet, was it? Diet chopped the toe off and left the heel, did it? No. It's very easy for people, if you're not super focused on balance and what the coronary band should be doing, where the heel should be, all the little constants that you know, for instance, lateral cartilages. If you're not super, and the toe pillar, you're not super hyper concentrating on that, it's so easy to lose your way. And they do it all the time. And of course, the old crap and rhetoric and myth that lever forces are tearing the laminae, which has got nothing to do with lever forces at all, which we've proved over and over again. You can't have horses walking around with rehabbing toes and tearing their laminae because, one, you wouldn't get a healing angle in, it would just keep ripping, and two, which it doesn't, of course, and two, you would have the animals in pain, and they're not, they get better. So there you go. Foxy says exactly like how high heels push you in onto your toes. Yes, on high heel shoes. I mean, yeah, absolutely. And they don't want to just don't. That's why we constantly keep saying, I'll finish this off now. And Gary's just sat there quite quietly listening to me. I'll finish this off now, but this is why we keep saying, you show me a healthy hoof capsule that has not been manipulated before we took the x-ray or before we got the hoof capsule, which is a healthy hoof capsule. You show me P3 rotation, you'll never find it because
it doesn't happen.
No, because the hoof capsule has been imbalanced.
It's been manipulated, in some way. Now that might be that it's just had loads of toe and sole removed, but it's still been manipulated, or it could be the heels that have gone up.
There was a couple of sagittal sections that were put up on the internet a few days ago, maybe 5 days ago or so. and if you're lucky, I might talk about that on Thursday. If we've got time on Thursday, I think we have.
And oh my goodness, we're talking about hoof capsule distortion. And one of the main things when we're putting that hoof capsule distortion correct, we are correcting the balance.
And I tell you,
Balance
unless you
is key to everything. And if you don't know how to balance,
no,
you have no clue. You are, I'm sorry to say, a personal preference trimmer.
and you can easily go off balance if you
Yeah.
don't respect the hoof capsule, if you don't respect the feedback at the toe. It's really easy. That's why so many horses are suffering, because too many people take the toe off, and then of course it all goes completely against them, and then they're fighting Mother Nature because they're perverting nature. So the heel just grows too fast for them and they can't keep on top of it, and they're coming back to do their regular trims, and these animals have got crazy heels with compaction, and then they think that they're going to take the heel down too much because the foot is suddenly showing you that it's got hard foot in there, and they don't go through it because they can't visualize it, don't understand the compaction, and then it just becomes a bloody nightmare that you're forever chasing. And in those particular sagittal sections, we had a normal foot, and then underneath it we had again what looked like a normal foot, and it was pushing into the corium at the toe. Now, two things are against that. One, and they just said the foot sunk, right? Well, we know, don't we, that it can't sink because it dragged the lateral cartilages down with it, so it doesn't do that. But they said it just sank and pushed into the dermis underneath the toe. Well, when you go and have a look at that, and you put those capsules up against each other or up against a normal foot, you can see the slight imbalance that hoof was going through. And you can obviously see that there's damage to the lucent zone. So you know that horse has been under some kind of strain and tension for quite some time. But if you haven't got sequential information leading up to that, and it doesn't look normal, that foot, then we could have a situation where we had a slightly high-heeled foot for a long period of time. Somebody came and trimmed it. It then was put to sleep, and then they cut it in half and went, oh, look, it sank. No, you can't do that. That's only a portion of the story. You need all the story. And I talk about that now on workshops, which is where science began. Science began over here, and they forgot all this bit here. They just looked at that bit there and forgot all this bit that led up to it. Have a wonderful birthday, Gary. Thanks for a great live. You're very welcome.
Thanks,
Great
Becky.
live. Been editing my photos while listening, watching, ready to post on the group. All right, let you go.
Hold on,
I've
got to say happy birthday to someone, because our new member, Foxy, it's her birthday today too. Happy birthday.
Oh, happy birthday, Foxy Paw Stotty. We'll see you next time. All right then, folks.
Take
Ta-ra.
care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.